Another day, another recap. Today we'll be watching an absolute gangster movie titled Legend. This true story will not disappoint you, and without further ado, make sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the recap. The movie Legend starts with introducing the Kray brothers, the gangsters of London, Reggie and Ronald Kray. Reggie starts off with antagonizing undercover coppers, letting them know he knows they're watching. Reggie then walks up to the people in his town asking how they are, giving them money. The undercover cops who watch this are disgusted by the people as they treat this gangster with respect but are rude to the coppers. Reggie finally makes his way to his friend Frank's house, but his sister Frances opens the door and introduces herself, which shows Reggie taking a liking to her and offers to take her out if he looks after her brother. Frank drives Reggie to a destination, teasing the coppers following them that they won't be long, but end up going through a different entrance, losing the cops on their tail. Ronald is then seen talking to his brother and friends at a place which seems like a mental hospital due to the advice of a psychiatrist. Reggie sends one of his goons to pay the doctor a visit, advising him to change his opinion on Ronald. The doctor immediately tells the court that Ronald is more than normal to be released from this mental facility. After he leaves the court, he approaches Ronald's brother, telling him that he is mentally unstable and a menace to society, diagnosed with psychotic attributes, and is a danger out on the streets. Later, Frances admires herself and goes downstairs to be met by Frank and her mother. Against her mother's wishes, Frances nonetheless gets into Reggie's car. Soon enough, they arrive at a club to where he is greeted by everyone and seems to be loved by all, and states he owns the club as part of his business. As the gangster is seating Frances, he is pulled aside and told he needs to attend to a matter, and is pissed when he sees that one of his goons, Jack, has lost money betting and cops a smack in the face, letting it be known he wants that money back. Reggie then rushes back to his table and continues his dinner with Frances, explaining that many celebrities come through his club and she is quite impressed. The next morning, Reggie and Frances are seen in the middle of the forest walking towards a caravan, to which Ronald comes out, introducing themselves to each other. It is then introduced that the rivals of the Krays, the Richardson family, were a very powerful family known for their tactics on getting information out of people using harmful methods. This is quickly proven when they are seen hurting a man, forcing him to talk and snitch on the Kray brothers. The next morning, Reggie is seen walking the streets of London, and a car speeds up behind him, purposely sending him a message that the Richardsons are no joke. The next day, the Krays return the favor and send a man to drive into the restaurant where the Richardsons are dining, and this eventually leads them to calling a truce. Soon enough, two of the Richardsons' goons go to see the brothers to make a meeting. They are met, however, with a knife at their necks, and Reggie lets him be. Surprisingly, Charlie, the boss of the Richardsons, has had enough and wants to give peace a chance. After giving the brothers a location to attend if they agree to the truce, Ronald gets quite annoyed by his guests and kicks them away. A while later, the Kray brothers arrive at the designated location, and the bartender immediately makes his way to the cellar. While the gangsters start arguing with each other, Ronald pulls his arms up with his hands in his jacket, which seems to look like two guns in each hand, threatening them, but not before walking out, telling them they're not worth his time, leaving Reggie alone. The goons appear to be happy now that Reggie is left alone and is told he is going to get jumped. He then responds by taking out knucklebusters, and the goons laugh, thinking he's got a winning chance against them. But to their surprise, Ronald creeps up from behind and starts hammering the goons as the Kray gangsters go mad, knocking out one goon after the next with ease, sending a clear message to the Richardsons that they rule London. The next morning, after the fight had taken place, we see the Richardsons' boss watching soccer, and police start raiding his house and arrest him, putting him away for 25 years as his past caught up with him. The Kray brothers are then introduced to a man by their friend Leslie Payne, who tells the man that owns the casino that they are asking him to sign over the place, to which he refuses. Ronald then threatens him, saying he doesn't have a choice, and signs it over. Leslie Payne is seen celebrating with the Kray brothers at the bar, saying they're going to take over London. Ronald, on the other hand, tells Leslie he's not part of the family and wants him to stop calling shots. Wanting to expand their business to Las Vegas, they meet with the Italian mob, who take an interest in the Krays, asking them to be muscle, and in return are offered a lot of money. Reggie then states he does not work for people, he works with them, and the mob is impressed by his courage. The Italians then offer the gangsters 100 grand and ask them to launder it through their casinos. After coming to an agreement, they are happy and celebrate as their reign on the street is expanding. The next day, Frances and Reggie are seen in the club celebrating by taking pictures with celebrities and rich people who love these gangsters and love to spend money in this casino to try and impress them. Reggie's friend Albert is seen whispering in his ear, telling him the cops have put a warrant out for his arrest and is to surrender in the morning. Frances and Reggie share one more dance with each other before he is seen getting dropped off by all his friends, handing himself into prison, while Frank reassures him Frances will be looked after. The realization of him ruling London to becoming a nobody kicks in when the guards escort him through the hallway and start to attack him brutally. They then drag him to a cell and lock him in whilst he lays on the floor in agony. The guard brings him water while laughing at him, but to his surprise, Reggie handcuffs him to the cell's bars and knocks him out cold. As Frances is taking a walk, Ronald drives next to her, assuring her Reggie is okay and not to worry, he will be out soon. Whilst Reggie, the head of the Krays, is locked up, Ronald decides to try and make business opportunities, telling Leslie his ideas, and gets into an argument while also threatening him that he is the boss now and makes him go get money so they can do more for the business. Reggie is then seen walking into the visiting area and sees Francis, who is horrified by the bruises on his face, telling her he got his revenge, showing the guard who got knocked out. She pleads with Reggie to go straight and move away from all this evil business too, which he seems to think about. His brother, on the other hand, is seen at the club, still having the time of his life, giving a speech to all the rich people who are seated in the audience. He tells them he is a gangster and starts talking gibberish, and no one seems to understand him.
Dripping in your synthetic opulence.
The next morning, to Frances' surprise, she opens her window to see Reggie finally released from prison, climbing his way up to her, presenting flowers and a ring. He asks her to be his wife. She agrees only upon the condition he goes straight. The couple then walk into the club they own and are surprised to see it's empty, and quickly questions Leslie, who tells him Ronald has run the place into the ground. Ronald notices the pair talking, scared of what Leslie might tell his brother, and tries saying hello but is ignored. Reggie then makes his way to leave and is stopped by Ronald, but Reggie makes it clear he is angry with him. They start arguing back and forth, to which Frances steps in and Ronald shuts her up. His brother makes him apologize to her, but when he does not, Reggie smashes him into the table. The Kray brothers start punching on in front of their friends and wrestle with each other, going blow for blow as Ron shows his strength by carrying Reggie by the groin, hurting him. Reggie then lands a blow which breaks Ronald's nose, to where he proceeds to start throwing glass bottles, hitting one of the rich ladies. As the Kray's bodyguards try to interfere, they are stopped by Albert. Reggie, fed up with his brother's behavior, smashes a glass bottle over his face. The brothers continue to talk and start hugging it out as they've missed each other. Ronald apologizes for his behavior before Frances walks out and, making her way into town, is disgusted with what she has just witnessed and informs Reggie she does not want to live this gangster life with him. The following morning, undercover officers are seen snapping photos of Ronald as he walks into a building. Inside, Ronald is in a business meeting, assertively stating his intention to expand his operations despite his brother's advice. Simultaneously, the police discuss the illegal operations of the Kray brothers with the Prime Minister, who is eager for their arrest. Despite promising his fiancée Frances that he would abandon his criminal ways, Reggie is seen coercing a man into signing over ownership of another club. This situation escalates quickly when the police are summoned, and the Kray brothers find themselves behind bars once again. Frances confronts Reggie, threatening to call off their wedding if he's found guilty of breaking his promise. In court, tension mounts as the Kray brothers await the outcome of their case. To everyone's surprise, the judge dismisses all charges and orders their release. Outside the courtroom, the police officers who had been working undercover are visibly frustrated by this turn of events. As they confront Reggie in his club, heated words are exchanged. During this confrontation, Ronald slyly places his arm around one of the officers just as a photographer captures the moment. This provocative photo reaches their superiors, leading to a stern reprimand for the involved officer. Amidst these turbulent events, Reggie's dream of marrying Frances becomes a reality. The couple enjoys a beautiful wedding, hoping for a blissful future together. However, this happiness is short-lived, lasting only 2 weeks, as Reggie's associates are seen giving him large sums of money, indicating that he has not kept his promise to leave his criminal past behind. The next day in the bar, Jack is seen talking to Reggie, telling him once again he has lost his money and gets smacked for it. The cop, desperate to get his revenge, starts following Frances, and she notices this but continues to go to her house. Once there, she opens a shelf to take a pill which looks to be an antidepressant. Despite this, the next morning on her birthday, Reggie walks her and, to her surprise, has bought her a brand new car, to which she is thrilled. This quickly changes when Reggie says he cannot go driving with her, and this saddens Frances even more. Instead of being with his wife, he attends the bar with all his bodyguards and brother, discussing their next move. As usual, Ronald once again has a psychotic outbreak, causing him to bottle Leslie Payne. Reggie tells him Payne is of value and that they need him in order for them to expand their casinos and clubs. Reggie starts questioning all his friends, going off on each and every single one of them, showing them he knows best. In an apartment elsewhere, Reggie is once again having a meeting with Mr. Bruno, who is part of the mafia. He describes that the boss is very happy in the work Reggie is putting in, and Ron is the one weighing him down. Reggie doesn't take too kindly to this and turns down the deal, sticking loyal to his twin brother. As Frances sits up waiting for her husband, she is seen taking more pills and does not seem like her normal self. Some while later, one of the Richardson's men are beating the pulp out of one of the Kray's men. The news reaches Ronald as the man who was beaten confronts him, telling him what happened. Ron reassures him he will handle the matter in an aggressive manner but wants money in return. Later, a car pulls up at a bar and Ronald steps out strapped. He quickly makes his way inside and instantly shoots George in the head without hesitation and leaves. When the news reaches Reggie, he comes into their mother's house, confronting him, asking him about witnesses who saw the event and where the gun was. He commands his bodyguards to burn the clothes and to toss the gun in the river. The mother of the gangsters tells Reggie no matter what has unfolded, Ronnie is still his brother and to forgive him. Since the murder of George, the cops turn up the heat, discussing amongst each other that the Krays are to be taken down at whatever cost. Walking through the streets of London, Francis and Reggie get into a disagreement on why Reggie should go down for the crimes his brother has committed, but is soon interrupted and questioned about what she's taking whilst going through her bag only to find a bottle of pills. At the police station, the bartender from the murder is called to identify who pulled the trigger as she was a witness. Even though she sees Ron, she lies saying the man who done it is not here and proceeds to leave. Happy with the outcome, the Krays are joyfully celebrating with friends and family, as Francis sits back in disgust as to what her husband is becoming. Whilst on their way home later, they run into the witness who immediately takes off running. Francis knows her husband threatened her and walks herself home. In the pouring rain when she arrives home, her car is being soaked and she asks Reggie for help only to receive an insult. She in return slaps him and leaves him shocked. Seeing this is the final straw for her, the next morning she walks with her luggage indicating she's done with Reggie and bumps into Ronald, who gives her a hand in loading up the car, but not before telling her she is being harsh towards his brother. Unconvinced, she hops in the car and decides to leave for good. As his brother predicted, Reggie is seen sitting alone, sad, and decides to make his way to Frank's house asking about Francis trying to bring her back home. She tells him she finally gets it that he is a gangster, and that's who he will always be, before making her way back into the house. She glares at herself in the mirror wondering who she is now and once again abuses the pills, taking one after the other. The next morning as Reggie returns to try again, he finds Frank already outside with the door open, knowing something has happened. He walks into Frances' room only to find her lifeless body laying there, knowing his wife has left him behind in the world. As he farewells her, Reggie places the ring on her finger one last time to give him a little bit of closure. Back at the club, Ronald is seen giving Jack money, hiring him to kill someone on his behalf. Grieving over the loss of his wife, Reggie is attacked by his mother-in-law, who spits at his car window as they drive away, which upsets Reggie even more. The same night, Jack is seen walking up to a house, knocking on the door, to which Leslie opens up and is terrified when Jack pulls a gun on him. However, Leslie attempts to steal the gun and cops a bullet in his leg, but he does manage to fend off his intruder and scare him away. After this incident occurs, the cop who is seeking revenge just stares at the pictures of the Kray brothers and their whole syndicate before entering a room to see Leslie cooperating with them. In the bar, already going through a lot, Albert sits beside Reggie, telling him that Payne snitched on the whole organization, giving them all the information about their activities, and that the bartender he had once threatened is now complying as well. Ronald, unaware of what's happening, hosts a party and is getting death stared by his brother and decides to ask him what's the issue. Jack finally arrives at the party, and Reggie's eyes light up with anger. Jack makes his way towards Ronald, who wants nothing to do with him, but is then staunched over by a very enraged Reggie. Letting it be known he lost his mind and denies having a role in the attack on Leslie Payne, Reggie is even more enraged by the mention of his dead wife's name. This instantly triggers Reggie to pull out a pistol, and Jack says her name once again, to which Reggie pulls the trigger but it doesn't fire. After using a knife instead, Reggie kills Jack and unleashes all the rage and anger that has built up inside him. When Ronald questions him as to why he did what he did, Reggie says because it would have been him if he wasn't his brother. Outside, in the silence of the night, Reggie decides to turn on another one of his men for no reason. He just wants silence and to be alone. However, once the body of Jack is discovered by police, both the Kray brothers are locked up and Reggie lives out his life only to be released 8 weeks before he died in 2000, while Ronald remained in a mental asylum until his death in 1995. Thanks for watching. If you